Hello, I'm Mark Agrast, Executive Director of the American Society of International Law. I'm pleased to welcome you to Tiller House, our beautiful and historic home on Sheridan Circle in Washington, D.C. For many months, we've been planning the ASIL annual meeting, which will take place here in Washington from April 8th to 11th. I recently sat down with annual meeting co-chair Sam Whitten and committee member Dawn Yamani Hewitt for a conversation in my office about the exciting programs they've planned. I hope you'll enjoy these brief excerpts from that conversation.
When we were organizing the convention starting about a year ago, we were thinking about the different ways to analyze all of the developments around the world in international law and international institutions. And we came upon the generic notion of a changing world as we thought about issues like Crimea, health issues, refugee flows, the rise of China, increased attention on bribery and anti-corruption. And we thought this has been a year of innovation. There have been a lot of new drafting, a lot of new thinking, speaking, but frankly a lot of geopolitical developments in the Middle East with respect to Eastern Europe, developments in Africa and East Asia. So our thought was to analyze how the world of international law has adapted, what has changed, what should change, looking ahead and also looking back.
And that theme is going to play out through a series of 6 topical tracks, as I understand it. I wonder if you could explain to us what those tracks are and perhaps describe a few of the highlights within them.
Sure, would love to. Our first track is energy, environment, and development.
We have 5 or 6 panels here. One of them is very interesting and innovative, energy at sea. This is the issue of the increased use of the oceans now and in the future. We were able to assemble a panel of experts to talk about the use of the oceans in the future, the institutions, global institutions that address the Arctic and other relevant issues. We have other topics dealing with the environment, the development of energy, protecting wildlife, and this should be a great group of programs for anyone interested in the environment, protection, conservation, and development.
Sounds fascinating.
We have another track on international criminal justice, human rights, humanitarian law, and refugees. And there are a lot of really interesting panels in this track as well, including one on privacy, litigating the counterterrorism activities of the United States abroad. And one that I'm really excited about is the rules of the video game. It's talking about international humanitarian law on the virtual battlefield. So I think that's going to be really interesting, and I think the audience members will find that a lot of fun. The next track we have is courts and tribunals, international and regional organizations, and other institutions. We've got some great panels there too.
It's interesting panels, and this is in part to discuss whether international institutions as they now exist are adequate, might need to be updated, modified, whether there are adequate institutions to address all of the changes that are going on in international law and foreign relations. One of these panels that's especially interesting will involve an innovative presentation of a film called The Agreement, which is a discussion of the first meeting between Serbian and Kosovo peace negotiators in 2011. The next track is trade, finance, and investment. We know that quite a few members have a lot of background and experience in this area, and we made sure that our panel included some terrific programmers and ideas on bilateral investment issues, on trade, WTO, and so forth.
Sounds like you've really put a lot of thought into having a good balance, a good mix of sort of public and private sessions, of sessions that are going to provide people with some practical tools that they can take back with them to their workplace.
Exactly.
I think that's right. And, our program committee is a very diverse group of people, and they're the ones that have been putting the program together. We have people from the private sector, the public sector, and from academia, and so everybody is bringing their own expertise into planning these sessions. So I think it's going to be really exciting, and there's going to be basically something for everyone.
In fact, do I understand correctly that many of these sessions are eligible for continuing legal education credit?
That's right. For those people who need CLEs, there will be CLEs, I think at 20 hours worth of CLE available. The fifth track is the use of armed force and national legal systems. And this track has a number of interesting panels. One that I'm really excited about is the ICC crime of aggression and the changing international security landscape. We've got a very distinguished panel, including Undersecretary of State for Civilian Security, Democracy, and Human Rights, Sarah Sewall.
Speaking of the use of force,
Yes.
We just received confirmation this week that Stephen Preston, the General Counsel of the Department of Defense, is going to be joining us to give what we believe will be a major policy address on that topic. I think his topic is the development of the legal framework for the U.S. use of military force since 9/11. That'll be the latest in a series of policy addresses by major administration officials that have taken place at ASIL annual meetings.
It's a great tradition of annual meetings to have these kind of major policy statements, and it's great that the GC of Defense, Steve Preston, is coming.
Yeah, and I think it shows how ASIL is really at the intersection of policy and law and really at the cutting edge of these international legal issues.
Exactly.
The last track we have is international legal theory and emerging issues. We have a lot of really interesting panels there as well. One of them is on the rise of China, which is always a very interesting topic. And then also the one I'm excited about is one on social media. It's hashtag international law at social media. The panelists are going to explore how social media affects the international legal landscape, and I think that it'll be a really interesting panel for everyone.
And in addition to all these great programs, we have some keynotes that will be quite important.
We do indeed. It's very exciting to have, among others, Sir Kenneth Keith, who until recently was a judge on the International Court of Justice, who will be delivering this year's Grotius Lecture, which is always one of the highlights of the annual meeting.
Yes, certainly.
And he's going to be joined by the former president of the ICJ, Dame Rosalind Higgins, who's agreed to serve as the discussant for that session.
Great program.
Yeah.
We also have one of our former presidents of ASIL, Anne-Marie Slaughter, who, as you know, is very much a beloved figure within the society.
Absolutely.
And she is a former director of policy planning at the State Department.
Yeah, I heard her speak a couple of days ago. I mean, she's absolutely phenomenal. I'm very excited to hear her speak.
She'll be the not only the speaker, but the honoree at the annual Women in International Law Interest Group Luncheon. Some of the other speakers of note include Professor Michael Reisman of Yale Law School, Professor Pierre-Marie Dupuy of the Graduate Institute of Geneva, and Ahmed Atsunju, Director General of the Organization for the Prohibition of Chemical Weapons.
Wow, that's a great group, and it's exciting that the head of OPCW will be here. That organization's been in the news so much in the last several years. It'd be great to get his perspective.
On a personal note, I know that you both have attended many annual meetings before, and I'd be curious to know what are some of your favorite parts of the meeting? What is it that keeps you coming back?
As a student and a young practitioner, I always found the ASIL annual meeting to be an amazing opportunity to learn an incredible amount of information in a short amount of time from really distinguished and well-regarded speakers who are really experts in their field. So it's just this, it's a great way to be in the room with some of the most famous names in international law that you wouldn't normally get to see in person, and you can ask them questions and engage in really the cutting edge topics in international law. So I always found that really, really great. Everybody always comes back to the ASIL annual meeting. It's the premier gathering of people who are interested in international law. So it's a time where I know that I'm going to see all of my old friends and make some new ones.
I have little to add to what Dawn said. For me, after working at the State Department for many years, it's a great opportunity to come back and see former colleagues and learn a few things.
Well, and I would think that the networking opportunities for young lawyers, and again, the chance to have a reunion with people
Sure.
you've known for many years is
It's a great event. It always has been.
It's a great event. I mean, to go to the go to all of the panels, and then there's many strategically placed breaks where you have a lot of opportunities to catch up with old friends and meet new people and network, and that's great for anybody at any stage in their career.
So as great as all of the formal sessions are, there's an awful lot of wonderful learning and conversation that takes place in the corridors and at the luncheons as well.
Yeah, that's definitely true.
Well, I just want to thank you both for coming by today to talk about this tremendous program that you and your committee have planned. I think it's going to be a wonderful event. I want to thank all of the folks who've worked on it so hard, and look forward to seeing you at the meeting.
Great.
Great,
Likewise.
and thank you to you and the ASIL staff. It's going to be a great event.
Thank you for joining us. To learn more and to register for the meeting, go to asil.org/am. You'll also want to check out our annual meeting blog, ASIL Cables, at asil.org/asilcables to read pre-conference articles and reviews related to the annual meeting theme and to read dispatches from the meeting as it's taking place. See you there.